this class. I'm not the one I'm teaching. So when you look at those reviews, here's how I suggest doing it. When you go through, it will let you know the right answers. Go, if you know it, you don't have to write it down because you know that answer. That's known. But the ones you missed, write down the question, write the whole question out, and the correct answer. That way it sticks in your brain better, okay? And then go back through. Everybody should get 100% on this because I expect you to take the effort to go through and do that. Then they'll close and you won't have access to them at all over Christmas break. I'm just going to shut everything off. Just close it all, okay? One, you're just not going to do it, and it keeps me from checking grades every day. In January, when you get back, I'm opening the state post review open again, okay? It'll just open up again, and so you have access to it again. Before we do the test, we'll then go through the whole thing together. If you didn't have 100% by then, you will at that point. So now that first one means nothing because there'll be a full 100% versus the beginning one for the first semester. So that's why it doesn't make a whole lot of concern to me that you only got 23 out of 100 because now it doesn't matter. It just gets washed in the numbers. We're going to go through it again, and so you're ready for that state test. Now, the state test is to be done here at the GTI. Some of you will most likely be on school dismissal at that time. We're just going to figure that's what's going to happen, okay? So what we're going to do, or what I'm going to do, is I will schedule with those of you who are not in class a time to come in to this room on a Friday, and I'll have 6 of you in here at a time. Now, the state test allows you to have up to 2 hours to complete it. I have never had a student take more than 30 minutes, ever. The ones that take less than 15 always fail it, and so whatever. But if you take about 20 minutes on the 20 to 30 minutes, you're looking like a good probability of passing it with an 80 or higher, and that's your goal. You're looking at a B- on it. And what'll happen is when that test will go on your grades as well, but I curve that score. You notice what that means when you curve a score? So what I do is I will take the highest score, and that will become the 100%. So the points on it will basically it'll be worth 800 points. If you get above an 80, you get bonus points. If you get less than 80, it doesn't hurt you as much. So if they got 75, you get 750 points. Okay, so that way it's not going to impact your grade a lot, but it is part of your grade. And that'll be kind of your final score, your final test score. And then we'll focus on finishing up these drawings. All right, that clear as mud, probably. Okay, any questions? All righty, okay, here we go. I don't want to delete that information. Let's switch over to our program here. Woohoo! And this is where we're at right now. We have got pretty much everything done that we can do this house. Windows, doors, walls, windows, roofs, sidewalks, driveways, garages. That's where we're all at. So we now have to make it buildable. And that's what I'm going to focus on for the next 45 minutes. And then the rest of the time will be yours, okay? So, and then we'll all see what we can do with your thing and go from there. So I'm going to start on the main floor. You will do the same routine on all of your floors. So if you have a foundation, you'll be on your foundation. If you have a basement, you'll be on your basement. If you have a second floor, you'll be on your second floor. Okay, same process for all of them. But we start with the main floor because we all have that. Now, what we're looking at here is we need to dimension it, and I have my site plan still on here, so I show where everything's at, and we'll do some dimensioning there as well. But I need to dimension the size of my house. So I'm going to start by giving the overall size of a house. Okay. Now to do dimensions, we need to go into annotate. That's at the top of your screen. It's a weird big word. Annotate means to label, to note, to number. All that's in the word annotate. Lots of different definitions there. That will take you to where you see your dimension system. Sorry, a lot of talking. how many people, it's a weird school. Everybody just walks in where they want to. It's weird. Okay, now let's talk about these dimension types. We have a line dimension. So if you have a wall that's on an angle, this is the type you'd use here. If your lines are vertical and horizontal for your walls, you use a linear dimension. Most of you probably won't have angles in your, but you might in a few cases if you have a wing of your house that goes out at a weird angle, you might need to put an angle in there. Your angles in architecture should not be funky ones like 38 degrees. Don't do that to the contractor. Contractors use angles like 22.5, which is half of 45, 30, 60, and 45, and 90. Those are the angles they use. Don't give them a weird angle. There's a lot of architects that do that to try and win awards. And what happens is the contractors will mess it up. And then nobody's happy and everybody yells at each other. It's just a really sad day. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a linear dimension. And I'm going to get up here as close as I can. You will do this on all 4 sides of the house. Now, your settings for your dimension, when you come down here, dimensions work off of corners. So where lines come together. So if I look at my wall, I've got my gypsum board, my stud, my sheathing, and then my brick outer layer. You really want to go off the sheathing layer, which is right here, because the owner may change the style of the brick. They may change it to stone. They may say, oh, I can't afford brick. It's $36 a square foot. How can I? They may change it. But the foundation doesn't change. Your foundation is set to match up with the exterior sheathing. So I click on that point right there, and I'm already into the dimension line. Okay, now I go all the way across to the same point on the opposite side. Okay, now that is called a dimension chain. The extension lines are the vertical lines coming up from the house. The horizontal is the dimension line. And you need to visually pull that up so it's about what looks to be 3 inches or maybe 3 fingers worth on your screen. So you put 3 fingers on your screen about that far away from the closest wall. And that's an eyeball thing. No one measures it. It's just an eyeball thing. So about what looks to be about 3 inches and about 3 fingers, plus or minus a finger. You know, some of you have fat knuckles. You pop your knuckles a lot. Okay, so that tells me I have a distance of 81 foot 2. If you're doing brick or stone, that's good. You want an even number. If you're doing siding or stucco, it doesn't have to necessarily be even. They can work that out with that type of framing. But for masonry, they want it to be that way. Now, you do that on all the other sides as well. I would not include the porch in the overall. So if I'm going to do this side here, I'll get my point there, start with that side, come all the way down, not to the porch, get that sheathing line, and then this one will come out, again, about 3 inches eyeballed from that side, okay? The porch is dimensioned separately on the next run of dimensions. And then I would do the same across the front and on the right side. Now, I'm going to, because of time, I'm not going to do the whole house dimension. It does take time to do all that. I will show a video. I'll make a video this afternoon and do the whole house for you. But for right now, I want it to be a sketch there. So again, this is your overall dimension. It is used by the excavators and the foundation crew. The excavators then take that number. In this case, it's that 81 foot 2. This is a very large house. They then take this number, then it adds 6 feet to that. 3 feet on each side and dig a hole. That hole must be 3 feet wider on each side of the house so that when people are down there working on the foundation, the soil doesn't fall back in on them and kill them. And if you watch the paper, not that we don't have paper anymore, but if you watch your news feeds for Utah, Utah averages 1 person every year that the excavated dirt falls back in on. Last year, the guy was very fortunate. It got up to his throat. It did crush a lung, but they were able to get him out of the dirt. and they did not follow OSHA requirements, did not have bracing, and that happens. But we want to make sure that we're doing our part of the drawing so that it's not on us. We don't ever want it to be on us, okay? Now, the next set of lines we do is for all the corners, because again, the foundation guys need to know every time they need to change direction for the foundation, the framers need to know how long the wall is, because each wall is built independent of the other. So this is how easy it is to do a string of corners. Again, I come down, I start with my exterior sheathing, go to the next point. I missed that one, it looks like. Go to the next one. Go to the next one. As long as you don't hit your enter button, which is your right click, you can just keep picking points. Your dimensions will flip around on you to do this. Don't panic. There's my last one. And then when I pull this whole string up, it comes up so it's just underneath your overall. And that's a full string. We want as long of a string of dimensions as you possibly can every time you dimension a wall. So all the way across there. Okay, now we know that this wall is 13'1" from sheathing to sheathing. Now, I noticed there's a 1/2 inch here, and when I was working on this, I also noticed that this guy was on the face of stud. So I'm going to modify this dimension right here. I can find that dimension. Oh, I see what I did. That's not dimension. I'm good. I did okay. I thought I screwed up. I did. Okay, now next we have to do, and if you've got an area like this right here, I'll just show you that right now. That's going to be pulled in separate. So you might have to go in and add information that's needed to build out your walls. So that would be a dimension that would sit here. And if these walls line up, you're good. But if they don't, then you'd put another one here. If you just put the one dimension, it's implied that this wall lines up. Okay. Now, there are some people who will say, I can't take the risk, and they'll just go ahead and put the other one in. I want them to line up, so I just let it go. Okay. Now, yeah, I also have a window in this wall, and I have windows along here. So your third row of dimensions is for windows and doors. Okay, now this is where it gets to be a little up to you how you want to do this. Some firms will dimension to the center of an opening, like a door or window. Others will dimension the outside. I like to do the outside. It saves me work later on with sizing out my doors and windows. So this is what I would do. And notice I'm now in the modify. I still have my dimension. I can switch back to annotate, still active. So it's active in both the modify and the annotate at the same time. So you can get to the dimensions either way. So coming in, I'm going to pick up from where I was started. And when I do windows, I really don't like clients changing window size. And the reason is your windows have to equal 10% of the square footage of that room for light. And if they mess up the size of those windows, they may make it so the house doesn't get occupancy. And so I try and lock them into one choice. But when I come across to do a window, I'll go to the line on the outside and the line on the outside. I'll just pick both of those. And then I'll just keep coming along and get the other ones. And I think I may have checked to make sure you got them. It's kind of a, you have to do a little bit of faith drawing on these. They're kind of frustrating. Back up to this point, over to here, and going across the outside edge. And as long as you don't hit that right mouse button or the enter key, every time you click an endpoint, they're going to be added. Does that mean you're going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Some of you will have to start over. That's a little bit of a downer, but that's okay. Like I just messed up. Oops. That's okay. Messing up is good. I can try to fix that, because you'll need to know. This is a little window in the bathroom, so it's very tall and high up. So, oops, I really messed that up. I just lost the whole string. Yep, I hit my right button as I bumped the mouse. All right, so like you, I have to start over. So this is where you want to take your time a little bit. Don't rush this. If you're worried about it, just if you aren't doing teaching, it's a little easier not to make mistakes. I usually kick these off pretty quick and easy, but occasionally I get talking and lose my way. Okay, here we come again. And if I miss an endpoint, that will kick me out as well. If you double click your left mouse button, that will kick you out. So once you get the hang of it though, it's actually kind of fun. And it's a lot easier than the way we used to do this. In CAD, we used to have to do each piece separate. And that was kind of a real pain, to be honest with you, because you have to make sure your strings all line up. Oh my gosh. Well, we'll call that good for now. All right, so I messed up. So let's do some fixing. Okay. I at least got my string started. I messed up over here because that guy's not really there. When you place your dimension strings, you can take and modify, and they are all linked. So when you want to make a change, you can move them all at once. If I'm careful. What am I locked to here? Somebody's got me locked. No, we're not locked. So I'm going to take this middle line here. This is what lines up with where you're at on the middle one, which is kind of a weird deal. I should just be able to move that whole thing. It is not cooperating today. That was really getting frustrating and getting bummed. Boy, that is frustrating as crud. I want to drag those up, and they keep flipping over here to the edge. So I've got to figure out what I'm doing wrong here. It's always fun when I do something wrong. Jeez, that is weird. Okay. I don't want to do that again, but I'm going to do it again. So I'm just going to start over because it's frustrating me. And what's happening is when I hit this wall right here, I'm inverting the dimension. So there's a dimension going vertically here that I didn't want to do that, and it did, and that's what's caused my grief. So a little bit of knowledge, doesn't save you. You can have all the degrees in the world and you still mess up in life. Okay, so I'm going to pull this string up to where it goes, and I'm going to let that one be, and then I'll start another string, and so I can fix that problem. And if you need to do this, there's no shame in it, just because you have to break it up. What you want to do is just make sure you line them up so they're all on the same string, and you're good. You just carry that across, and that's all your doors and windows. Okay, and I'll go ahead and finish that one out now, so we can keep full string going in our discussion as we dimension. And this is probably the most important part of your drawing, is that these dimensions are all in there. Now, in the good old days, before you guys were even thought of, because your parents weren't, see, there's my dimension change. So I'm going to stop this one here as well. And we'll pick up again. Actually, that's probably enough. You've seen me do it 14 times now. In the old days, we did this by hand. And when you did a string of dimensions, so 81'2", the next one down had to be added up and equal 81'2". It had to equal. And the next string had to equal the first two. We can have a little more trust that CAD's going to have that right for us, but you do want to make sure nothing looks odd in your dimensions, that you haven't missed a line. If you've got ½ inches that you're not sure why, you might want to check those and find out why there's a ½ inch there. If it looks right, then you're good, but just verify, okay? So you do these 3 strands all the way around. So here I've got my overall. There's no corners here. So I won't have 3 in this point. I'll have the overall, and then I'll go right to the windows or the openings. And I'm going to do this side because there's another level, a 4th level, that we're going to talk about real quick here as we go. Forget those short windows. And what's happening on that one, so you know, is that window is above the cut plane line, and so it doesn't want to show here. So I've got to fake that one out a little bit. I forgot about that guy. Okay, so this window here is above the 4-foot point where my house is cut through. So your floor plan is a horizontal section cut, and everything above 4 feet doesn't really exist, but you can see it. So I'm going to go and pull these out, and I'm going to stop here for a minute. And I'm going to go into my architectural tab and use my model line. I'm just going to grab a line right here off of that. And you want this to be, sorry, let me change this. Not your center line we used on our property. We want it to just be a line because we don't want, if we forget to delete it, we don't want it to print. So there's a green line there. And I'm going to bring a green line on this side. So now those lines exist because these are at the floor level. Okay, they're not at the window level, they're actually the floor level. So I can go back to my dimensioning, pick up where I left off, pick up on the line, and now I don't have that issue. I can pick up the next one that's using the guidelines and not the windows. I've got the same thing here, but I'm just jump down. Actually, I'll just call that good. Line those up. And so that's how you would fix when you have these bathroom windows that are up above your head. Okay. Now I usually go back through and make sure I delete those out. But again, oops, if you don't, that's fine. I'm not going to print. So don't stress over it. It's not worth the anxiety of it all. But occasionally we might want to put a 4th line in, and that would be if you've got a wall coming to the outside. And I do not dimension this way, one, because I think it's a little too cluttered, and I'm asking different construction crews to do different things. The outside walls are done by the main structural framing crew, and they'll build these walls on the floor, tilt them up, and then move to the next house, and the secondary framing team comes in and does the next framing. And they're maybe a little bit less proficient in their work. They're maybe a little newer on the job, so to speak. But we can hide mistakes on interior walls that we cannot hide on an exterior wall. And so a lot of times a general contractor will have different framing crews. So what some firms will do, and again, if you want to dimension this way, that's your choice. It's not what I do. They will dimension a string that goes from the corner to the wall, and you want to set it up so you're dimensioning to the center of the wall. This is why I don't do it, because it's a different setting, and I'll just an eyeball maybe if I can get that to work, and it won't do it that way. So let's change my dimension settings. I'm trying to go fast because I want you guys to have work. So go manage. I'm going to go into my additional settings, go down to your temporary dimensions. And what I want to do is the walls is go center core. And on the openings, go center lines as well there. And then when you do your dimension, if all is well in the world, you can dimension from still the endpoint. You still have to go from an endpoint to start. But when you get to your wall, hopefully that's a kick in. Come on. Should grab the midpoint of the wall there, and it's not grabbing it. Oh, wall center line right there. Let's go center core there. Sorry. So again, you've got to watch your settings here a little bit. It's kind of a, well, it's kind of a little bit of extra work in my world. So I go along here, and I want that center. Come on. I'm just gonna grab the corner because I'm trying to find it. And you dimensions that that's one of the reasons I don't like it. It also doesn't give me control over my room size. Okay. But if you want to, you're welcome to do it that way. Okay. Okay. So all four sides, minimum of 3 levels of dimensions, your openings, your corners, and your overalls. Okay. Then we have the interior walls we have to do. And this is how I like to do mine. And I'm going to go back and reset my my settings. Manage. Additional settings, temporary dimensions. I'm going to go back to faces and openings. Now, before you get going, let me explain. The only doors you dimension are exterior doors, your garage doors and the doors that come into the house. Those you do dimension because you have to know their location right up front. Interior doors, you do not dimension. As a general rule, they are 3 to 4 inches from the corner, and that's where they'll be built. And so unless you want that door specifically centered in the wall, then you would dimension that. But if it's just by the corner, you don't have to dimension. It makes it a lot easier and saves you a ton of time. Okay. So like this door here, I would probably need to dimension its center location so it was centered in the room. And you have to be very deliberate about, is it from this wall or from this wall that it's centered? And that's a design choice you have to make because they'll both result in a different configuration of that door. Okay. So I'm going to run a string across here. And what you want to do is you want to run the string where you can get the most doors possible. Okay. Not doors, sorry, walls. We want walls. So this wall is kind of standalone, but this wall here goes along the whole length. So let's just do it. Maybe you'll understand what I'm trying to say in a bad way. What we're doing here. All right. Even on the clock, I've got literally 15 minutes to finish this. All right. So I'm going to go from the corner of the room. And if it's off the face of the gypsum board, that's going to be all right. I try and do, again, the face of stud if you can, because the gypsum board might change, but the stud doesn't. So I try and pay attention where I'm grabbing. As I come across, I'm doing all the walls that go up and down vertically. So the next wall would be right here. And in order to keep my chain consistent, I'll do both sides of that wall. Okay. Then I come across, oh, there's another wall. Let's grab you while we're going. Thanks for coming along the train, choo-choo train here. Come along, there's another wall. Grab that side and that side. Come along. Oh, well, let's see. If I put the string here, well, I better grab this one too. So I grab that wall. Keep moving myself along there. And you have to maybe play a little bit here to get in the right spot. Down here, both sides. Going across the closet area. Going across them. See, I'm getting the 3.5, which is my stud thickness. Which is good. Keep going. Life's looking great. Jump all the way. Oh, now it gets a little more complicated. We've got one down here. And then jumping up here. And that does start to get a little cluttered. I mean, they're all bunching up on you. Now we're at the exterior, and I'm going to stop here. I'll do the garage separate. Okay. Yay, I got those all messed up. And the reason that gives you grief is I changed from interior walls to an exterior wall. And so it kicked me out, but that's okay for what I'm doing here. Now, you don't want them all lying on the wall line. That's really bad. Okay, so I'm going to pull them up a little bit here. It looks like they're going to go. And I need to remove the reference line. Okay, so that just says I can move them. And we'll delete that element. Okay, so now I should be, whoops, that's my 4. Now I got to select without selecting. How's that? So much fun. Stupid teaching. I really should just redo this whole string, but What the heck? All right, what I'm going to do is hide that floor because it's causing me grief. Just to make my life easier. Now I can move that chain up. And if you need to do things like that, don't panic, just do it. It's not bad. This guy got a leader. He doesn't need a leader, but he got one anyway. So pull him back down. Okay, now let's talk about what I've got done here. This is a very muddied set of drawings. And first thing I notice, I've got a 4 and a bunch of 3.5s. Okay, so if I look at this dimension right here, I can see I did not put that where I wanted it. So the fix is not the line where it crosses, not this dot here, but the other one up. And I need to move that over. And that is, it's not an easy thing to do. So I take it longer than I need. And I'm going to use a modify. And hopefully I get to a line. Oh, I changed that, didn't I? Yay. So we're going to do face the core. And I'll try and get that to line. Oh my gosh. I'm making this a lot more work than I want to. So this is going to come over to here. There, that fixes it. So you might have to move your settings around a little bit as you work it, or just take your time. Now, as I look along here, this is almost impossible to read. I cannot read that. So I know that I have to dimension interior walls once each time they change, because visually this 3.5-inch wall is not that thick. Okay, I know it's not that thick. I know it's not a 2x4. So I have to make some choices here. One is I can take the text and I can pull it out and over and let a leader line drop it down in. And I can do that anywhere I choose, provided I have room to do it. Okay. If you say, well, I only need to show it once, which is what the standard is, and you want to delete one, you have to remember you're part of a full chain here, and you would need to break that chain. And to do that, you would want to oh, where's the dang? Oh, I want to break the conditions on them. Similar previous. Usually brings up remove constraint, and it's not bringing that up for me, so I'm not sure what's going on today. So the leaders make it readable, and if that's what you end up doing, that's really good. That's what I had the class on the Thursday before, well, what was it? The Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I had them just do this. Come along and use your leader lines, because it's just a little less work for you guys, and especially since we're now in kind of a crunch mode. We are off my original plan for the year. We're about 2 weeks behind as a class, and no fault to you guys. It's mainly because we start and stop and go back and forth. So just make sure that as you come across your dimensions, that everything's readable. And if it's not readable, make it readable. Whatever you need to do to make that happen, that still isn't very readable. So I pull another one up. Now we have to be careful when we do this, especially in a room like the kitchen. I started to put electrical stuff in here. So know that what you do now, you might have to modify a little bit when we put other things in there. Okay, so that's what a horizontal string would look like. Technically, it should go to this wall here, and I could probably add that in now that everything's set and it's going a little bit easier. Missed that one. That's okay, I'll fix it. Line them up. If they're not right, take the middle line and shift it to where it needs to be, and so you can line them up. It's that middle dot, not line, middle dot. Okay, so long lines going across, get as many walls on one string as you can. And I missed that one. Oh, I did bad on that one too. Okay, so I missed the other side of this wall. So I can modify that one. Might as well show you all of that. This side here is then go over to here. And I noticed that went the wrong way. So let's go back. The middle dot is back to here. And what I might need to do is lock this one and lock this one. So those two sides can't move. And then when I move this string here, they shouldn't have moved. Having some problems with my dimensions today, guys. Sorry about that. That should not have moved if it's locked. I'm not sure why that did that. Anyway, I might need to take. That's so frustrating to cut on me right now. I don't know why that didn't do that. It's supposed to go right there. Okay. And it unlocked itself. Okay, these shouldn't be unlocking. So there's something wrong in my settings. I've got to go and check. But when you lock them, that means these two won't move and this guy will. And typically when you put strings down, they all lock. And so if they're not, we can work on that one-on-one, get them either. The big thing might be that you will see these not equals. If they show without that slash mark in them, then Revit is trying to make every wall the same size. Don't let it force equal distances on you. Vertically, you do the same thing. You then go from an outside point and kind of plan where you're going to get the most lines or most walls dimensioned as you go. So it's still linear. I'm not safe for right now because I've got to do some fixes on it. Again, start with your face of stud. And I'm going to go up right through here to the closet side of things. Maybe if it doesn't kick me out. What is with this thing? It is really fighting me today. I'm not sure exactly why. It's a little unnerving. So right up along the string here. Now I want that over here. I want to shoot right up the middle. I look and make sure there's no walls here that I'm going to get. There is a wall over here, but it's too far away. So I want to kind of be a little focused. Oh my gosh. On what lines I get. And this thing is just so funny today. It's funny. I'll laugh and then I cry. You guys all go home because that's what teachers do when you all go home. We cry a lot. So pull this out. And again, I'm gonna have to do some fixing on it because it's just easier sometimes to live that life or fix rather than modify. And I've got to find the right endpoint to grab onto. Let's grab it. And it doesn't want either one of those. That's interesting. Now we're going to fight till we die. That's how we're going to do this. So Americans. And if you do have frustrations with it, I've been there. Apparently today is my big day. I'm so happy to be here with you all. There we go. And I'm going to capture as many walls going as I can. And it's not very close. You want that black dot, whatever you can do to get that bugger. That's me, your saving grace. I'm not going to worry about this in this string. It's too far away. So don't try and do more than you need. Well, whatever. So I should have demoed dimensioning. So this string would then carry across. I get this wall, and this wall. This little cabinet here, it's not a cabinet, it's a furnace flue, what that is. I'm going to dimension that inside. I'm going to figure out why I put crown molding on the inside of that. That's probably part of my issue, is I've got my walls turned inside out. So on this, this would be pulled inside here to give that size. And I do the interior size. Don't do the exterior on these if you have these on your plan, because the inside is what matters on these. This is the combustion air for the furnace. And so when you see those, they need to be a minimum for Utah of 12 by 12. So as long as you're equal to or greater than that, you're good. That's how much combustion air we need. In Utah, because of elevation, we have less oxygen in our air than what they have in California because we're higher up. It's just kind of nature we're at. We also have less ozone because we're up higher. And so we sunburn easier here. Okay, so you might have to do some spot dimensioning, but you really do want long strings going across and horizontally. Like this wall didn't get dimensions, so I'd have to do these two rooms separate from here. When then I run a string up here, I get this wall and this wall, go to the outside. So you go from exterior to exterior on the interior and try and capture as many walls as you can as you go. Does that kind of make sense a little bit? Okay, good deal. So you do that on each of your plans. I am going to go into the foundation really quick because it's just a little bit different. And that's going to be on my basement here. If you're doing a crawl space or anything with masonry, you never dimension to the center window in concrete, okay? So on your basement or your crawl spaces, you're never, ever, ever then dimension to center. The reason being is in order to put in this window, it has to be done before the concrete steps. Because once it's hardened, it's a lot more expensive. So we need to know exactly where the form goes to make a window opening. And so we don't deviate that much at all on there. And one thing for, how many of you have crawl spaces in here today? Okay, those of you with crawl spaces, you need to vent this space out. So we're gonna add that in today, okay? And I'm gonna use this over here as my crawl space area. You need a vent that occurs within 2 feet of every corner, is how that reads, and no further apart than 12 feet to get enough cross ventilation going here. So when I go into my components and I go into my edit type and my library, to find these suckers it's kind of a mess. Vents are not in Windows. However, you can use a window for a vent. So it's in your structural foundations. Oh, no, it's not. It moved it. Well, then. And it changes. This is one thing that does change with every version of Revit. So it's kind of one of those things. I'm just gonna go ahead and use a window because that's typically what I do. So I'm gonna go into my windows. And if I look through here, there's openings, there's fixed windows, you know, there's a few of them in here, but what you won't see is a vent. And that's what I'm building. So what I want to do is create one. And I use the fixed window for that. So I'm just going to show you how I do that. So I'm going to open that up. And I'm going to quickly, I know it's not the correct category. Sorry, I got to switch categories. My bad. Architecture. Oh, Windows. Windows.
Yeah.
Go back in and find that thing. Fixed window, open that up, and then duplicate it right off the top of that. And what I'm going to do is it's going to be an 8-inch, let's see, it's going to be so 12 inches wide and 8 inches tall. And the 2 is, I'm just going to change that to vent, V-E-N-T. So I create one of these about every time. I don't do a lot of crawl spaces, especially in Utah, because everybody wants a basement, but you have to keep them dry. One of the worst things that can happen is you build a swamp underneath your house. And if you don't have airflow underneath there, that's kind of what happens with them. So it's a 12 by 8 vent. So now I'm going to come down here and make some changes. One is the height. The seal height's kind of problematic. We'll have to modify that. But on this fixed window, there are no sizes on this one. I used the wrong window. Hey, teacher. Okay, so what we need to do is, it's not going to be glass. I'm going to change that material out. And the material I'm going to look for there is, I'm going to try a screen, see if that's loaded on this machine. And you most likely probably won't have, oh yeah, there's a vent screen right here. That will work. Or you can use the bamboo weave. What you're looking at here is on these vents, they're usually louvered, which means you can open and close them. So you could use a louvered window for these as well. But you want to put a screen on them that will keep rodents out. Now, so you know, anything that's got a hole greater than a dime, a rodent can get through. So you've got to maintain your screens pretty bit. And that means when your kids go around the side of your house and poke their pencil in all the screens, that's a really bad thing. So there's a vent right there, just a mesh, and I'll put that in there. It's used on your stove mesh. And usually there's a sash around it. And I'm going to go and place one, and I'm going to put it on the side here. And they're just a little small, 2 feet from the corner. And there'll be one over on this side. I'm just going to do the two because I need to adjust these quite a bit. And I guess I'll just do one. I am having a rough day, guys. I should have stayed in bed. So that is my east elevation. And there's my vent. And this is why we need to kind of adjust it. So here's the size of it all. And it's 3 feet off the basement floor. And it's also way big. And I really picked those. Oh, there's my sizes. So once I select in the elevation, there's my height. My height is 8 inches. My width is 1 foot. So I'm going to go and fix that. Do that fix first. So we can see what it is. And it's going to go up. So it's just underneath my foundation or my finished grade. So I usually don't try and measure that. I highball it till it looks good. It's got to be above the grade line. So I'm going to go quite a bit here. Let's go 6 feet. Put that in. So I need to go a little bit more. I know it's 8 inches. So I'm going to go 6. Let's go 6 to 8 on this one. It's a little high. And this is really what I do. I just look at it. I want it above my grade, but not up above my foundation. So there's my vent. It just sits there just like that. I don't worry about it's a purchased item. I'm not going to spend a lot of time designing it. I'm just going to put it in there. Now, if I go back to my basement now, here's the downside. It won't show here. So you put them all in first, then go around and put them where they go, okay? So again, 2 feet from each corner, all around where your crawl spaces are, okay? And that will give you enough cross ventilation. If you have like a front porch, you can go underneath the porch and vent that way, but you have to make sure your porch is vented. In other words, you can't have any walls coming down around your porch. Your porch has to be above ground and vent out. So just, if you get 2 feet from each corner, you'll have your vents. And again, they will not show on your plan once you adjust them. Okay, so just be aware of that. They do show on the site plan, which is kind of weird. But we do have to show them in the elevations. Okay? All right, questions for what you're doing today? Online folk? Okay, the rest of the time is yours. I think I gave you just over an hour, so.
My line is being.
Yeah, your line is being weird too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the network today. It's kind of weird. Let me see if I can help you with that. Okay. Zoom's updating. That's probably what's kicking me. Zoom over. All right, those of you online have questions and you need someone, turn your mics on and yell, and then give me a minute to get over here. So that would help.